Before we begin, I want you to imagine this scene clearly. A glittering chandelier, crystal glasses clinking, a room filled with power and money, and in the middle of it all, a single sentence, soft, calm, spoken in perfect French, that silences a billionaire and changes two lives forever. Stay with me until the end, because this story isn't just about revenge or pride. It's about dignity, hidden strength, and the power of knowing your worth. And if stories that inspire you to stand taller speak to your heart, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. You never know which story might change your perspective next. The night it happened, the restaurant was glowing. Lucille wasn't just a restaurant, it was the kind of place where reservations were made weeks in advance and waiters memorized the wine list like sacred scripture. Politicians celebrated victories there. CEOs negotiated empires over dessert. The staff moved like choreography, precise, silent, flawless. And among them was Amara. At 26, she carried herself with a quiet composure that made customers assume she had always belonged in places like this. But the truth was different. She worked double shifts. She sent half her paycheck back home to help her mother. She studied late at night for her graduate entrance exams. Her dreams were bigger than the dining room, but for now, the dining room paid the bills. She wasn't just a waitress. She spoke 3 languages fluently: English, Spanish, and French. Her father had been a language professor before he passed away. As a little girl, she would sit at the kitchen table while he graded papers, repeating French poetry after him. He used to tell her, "Language is power, Amara. When you understand people, you understand the world." She never forgot that. That evening, the restaurant manager was unusually tense. A last-minute reservation had come in: private table, top floor, VIP treatment. Elliot Laurent, a billionaire investor known for buying struggling companies and turning them into gold. Or dust, depending on how you looked at it. He was brilliant, ruthless, and very aware of his own status. When he walked in, the air shifted. He was tall, silver at the temples, wearing a tailored suit that probably cost more than most people's rent. 2 associates followed him, laughing too loudly at whatever he said. He didn't smile at the hostess. He barely glanced at anyone. Amara was assigned to his table. She approached with calm professionalism. "Good evening, sir. Welcome. May I start you with sparkling or still water?" He didn't look up from his phone. Sparkling. His associates ordered expensive wine. Amara took notes, precise and efficient. The first hour went smoothly. She delivered each course perfectly timed. Refreshed glasses before they were empty. Anticipated needs before they were spoken. But Elliot was not in a good mood. A deal had fallen through earlier that day. Millions lost. His voice grew sharper with each passing minute. When the main course arrived, one of his associates made a minor complaint about the temperature of the steak. It wasn't undercooked. It wasn't cold. It was slightly less hot than expected. Amara apologized sincerely. "I'll have the kitchen prepare a fresh one immediately." She lifted the plate carefully. That's when Elliot finally looked directly at her. And then he laughed. Not a warm laugh, a dismissive one. He turned slightly toward his associates and said, in fluent French, "Certaines personnes devraient rester à leur place. Elle porte mieux un plateau qu'un diplôme." Some people should stay in their place. She carries a tray better than she'd carry a degree. His associates chuckled. They assumed she didn't understand. After all, she was just a waitress. Amara felt the words hit her like cold water. Her hands didn't tremble. Her face didn't change. Years of self-control held her steady. But inside, something stirred, not anger exactly. Not humiliation either. Clarity. She had heard things before. People who thought uniforms defined intelligence. People who equated wealth with superiority. For a split second, she considered walking away silently. But then she heard her father's voice in her memory. "Language is power." She gently set the plate back down on the table. And in the same calm, respectful tone she had used all evening, she replied in flawless French. "Et certaines personnes oublient que la dignité ne s'achète pas, même avec des milliards." And some people forget that dignity cannot be bought, even with billions. The table froze. The associates' smiles vanished. Elliot Laurent's face changed. Not red with anger, not pale with embarrassment, just still. Completely still. He stared at her, measuring. She held his gaze, not defiantly, not submissively. Simply steady. Then she added softly, in English, "Your new steak will be ready shortly, sir." And she walked away. In the kitchen, her heart finally pounded. Not from fear, but from release. She hadn't shouted. She hadn't insulted him back. She had simply stated truth. The head chef looked at her. Everything okay? She nodded. Yes. Just refiring a steak. When she returned with the new dish, the atmosphere at the table had changed. Quieter. Elliot dismissed his associates early. All finished dinner alone. They left quickly, grateful to escape the tension. Amara expected the rest of the evening to be awkward. Perhaps he would complain to management. Perhaps she would lose her job. Instead, as she poured him more wine, he spoke. How long have you worked here? He asked evenly. 3 years. And before that, university. I majored in international economics. That caught his attention. And now, I'm applying for graduate programs. He leaned back slightly. Why are you serving tables? Because tuition isn't free. And neither is rent. He studied her as if seeing her for the first time, not as staff, but as a person. You could have embarrassed me, he said after a moment. You chose not to. I wasn't trying to embarrass you. You corrected me. Yes. Most people don't. She met his eyes again. Most people aren't spoken about as if they're invisible. The honesty in her voice wasn't bitter. It was factual. For the first time that evening, Elliot Laurent looked uncomfortable. He finished dinner in silence. When the bill came, he signed without hesitation. The tip he left was generous, far beyond standard. But it wasn't the tip that mattered. Before leaving, he stood. Amara. She paused. I misjudged you. She didn't respond immediately. Thank you for reminding me of something I shouldn't have forgotten. She inclined her head politely. Have a good evening, sir. He left. The next day, the restaurant manager called her into the office. Her stomach tightened. Instead of anger, she found surprise. He called, the manager said. Her heart sank. He asked about you. Oh, he also asked if you'd be interested in an internship. Amara blinked. An internship? At his firm. The world felt momentarily unreal. She hesitated. Why? The manager shrugged. He said talent shouldn't be wasted. Amara went home that night and sat on her small apartment balcony. The city hummed below. She thought about pride, about opportunity, about whether accepting would mean surrendering dignity. Then she remembered something else her father used to say. When life opens a door, walk through it with your head high. She accepted the internship. The first weeks were challenging. Elliot's company moved fast. Meetings were intense. Expectations were high. No one treated her gently. But no one underestimated her either. Elliot did not give her special treatment. In fact, he was harder on her than most. He questioned her analysis, pushed her logic, challenged her assumptions. One evening, after she had presented a market restructuring idea that saved the firm millions in potential losses, he called her into his office. You were right, he said simply. She smiled slightly. I usually am when I've done the research. A hint of amusement crossed his face. You know, he said, I built my empire believing strength meant dominance. And now, I'm starting to think strength might mean listening. Amara nodded. It's more efficient. He laughed. Genuinely this time. Months turned into a year. Amara was accepted into one of the top graduate programs in the country. With a scholarship. On her last day at the firm before starting school, Elliot handed her a letter. It wasn't a contract. It was a recommendation. In it, he described her as the most perceptive analyst I've encountered in a decade, and a leader who commands respect without demanding it. At the bottom, in French, he had written, La vraie grandeur commence par le respect. True greatness begins with respect. She looked up at him. You remembered, she said. I learned, he corrected gently. Years later, Amara would return, not as a waitress, not as an intern, but as a partner in a global firm, negotiating deals across continents. She would mentor young professionals from backgrounds like hers. She would fund language programs in public schools. And sometimes, when she felt doubt creep in, she would remember that night. The chandelier, the insult, the sentence, one calm sentence that reminded a billionaire, and herself, that dignity is untouchable. If there's something this story teaches us, it's this: never assume someone's position defines their potential. The person serving your table today might shape the economy tomorrow. The quiet voice in the room might carry the strongest truth. And more importantly, never let anyone make you feel small for where you are in your journey. Your current chapter is not your final destination. If this story moved you, if it reminded you of your own worth or someone you know who needs to hear this, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Share it with someone who might be doubting themselves right now. Because sometimes, all it takes is one sentence, spoken with courage, to change everything.